All right. So, hello, we are here. We are ready. Sylvia, hello. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm super excited. I think I'm just as excited to be here as you are to have me. So
Look at our smiles. We're like,
I know.
it is so good. I am really looking forward to our chat tonight. I want to sort of throw over to you, but give our listeners and our viewers a little bit of background as to who you are and what we're going to be talking about tonight. So the topic of tonight is building children's confidence and self-esteem, which I know is such a huge focus for a lot of us parents. And I think regardless of the age of your kids, that's something that we all kind of innately focus and drive towards with our kids, right? Having that sense of identity, sense of confidence and competence, and all the sort of traits that go with that. So I'm really excited to be talking about that tonight. I'm looking down at my notes because I don't want to forget anything.
That's all right.
But if you guys are, I can see there's a few parents hopping on. So welcome, and let us know in the chat in Facebook if you're watching now live where you're watching from. And actually probably let us know how old your kids are as well. So I always like to kind of know who we're chatting to and things like
Absolutely.
that. Yeah,
And the
that's
good
really
thing
helpful.
is, Stephanie, with a lot of the things that we're going to discuss tonight, it's really relative to any age children. So we're going from, from that toddler, from that young infancy toddler through to preschool, through to primary, and even teenagers. Like this information and this knowledge is really kind of going to be spreading over those years. So
Yeah, it's wide ranging, right? You don't have to just have kids in the early years. You don't just have to have school age kids. Like I even think about really young kids and infants and things like that, and how we can speak to them. We'll talk about our language and stuff like that. That I know you're passionate about, and that's
yeah.
my background as a speech pathologist. So we're all we're all into, the language and what we're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah. So guys, if you haven't yet come across Sylvia, she's in our group. She's in Let's Raise Emotionally Intelligent Kids. We're starting to do bits of exciting collaboration and work together. But if you don't know who this beautiful lady is, her name is Sylvia Arotin, and she is the founder of Guide and Grow. She runs the largest Montessori community online, which is pretty massive, right? There's a lot of
Yeah,
parents.
we've got over 200,000 members internationally. So we've built that community over the last 2 years. So it's we've
That's mind blowing. Like,
it's
doesn't that
amazing.
say there's a space here that parents really want to be in?
Yeah.
They want to know about. There's a need there because parents are flocking to learn and to listen and to
Correct.
grow from what you guys are sharing in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So
and
good.
that's what Guide and Grow is all about, really. It's supporting caregivers, so parents, educators, anybody that's really working or, raising our next generation of children, and how to do that in a way that builds these skill sets. So building confidence, building their emotional intelligence, and guiding us to grow as parents or educators as well, because that's the main thing.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it. And the last thing I wanted to say is that you're also the director at in Sydney, the My Montessori school. So,
Yeah.
like, I'll probably pick your brain about that as well. But yeah, so tonight we're talking about building confidence and self-esteem. Maybe we should start off with saying, why did we pick that? Why did we pick that topic?
Yeah. So, well, I think the step before talking about self-esteem and what that means and confidence is actually understanding something about language. And the biggest thing that I always kind of get people to do is I ask them. So my first question is, like, to you, Stephanie, how are you?
Good, not bad.
So that was exactly, so we fall into these habits, right? So the first thing that you said was good, right? Anytime anyone asks us how we are, we always say good. Yeah, oh yeah, I'm good. But realistically, that's because of the habits that we have, right? But if I said, okay, Stephanie, choose one word to describe how you're feeling right now, truthfully, and think about it, be conscious of it. Give me one descriptive word that's not good of how you're actually feeling. What would it be?
Drained.
Drained, right? So the whole point of that exercise is to show people how habitual our language is. And we don't even think about the fact that we're not being conscious about the words that we choose. It just kind of comes out because that's what we're used to. So the first thing is the importance of communication, the importance of being conscious of the language that we choose, and is it an accurate reflection of what we're trying to communicate with our children? And then it comes down to what we want to achieve out of that. So in this case, we're talking about confidence and children's self-esteem. And what that means, I guess, for children is that they feel good about themselves. They feel competent, that they can do something. They don't feel insecure. They have that grounding and that comfort and that strength, that inner kind of motivation and drive that comes from within them. And that's really what we want to foster when we talk about building their self-esteem and confidence.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to add something to that. Yeah.
I love that you touched on language, because as you said, so many of us, right, are so unconscious and I was going to say undeliberate. Like, we are not intentional.
Yeah.
We're not deliberate. We're not really thoughtful about the language we use, because it's so habitual, like you said. And like, I've even caught myself saying like, oh, I've got so much to do, I'm never going to get it done. Or like, I'm just exhausted, or come on kids, like you're always being so loud. And like, just that language, you're always, or you never, or like, it's really actually not accurate. It's very polarizing, and it's not good for our mental.
It's hard. Don't get me wrong. Like, we're talking about an ideal here, right? And in a perfect world, yes, we all ideally want to have this really conscious and positive communication that's effective and, influences our children in the right way. But realistically, we just have to try our best and do our best. And just having awareness is a great step and a first step. And maybe knowing what some different things to say are to encourage that, So those are the things that we can try to begin with.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you about about Montessori for the parents who maybe like me are not. I don't know. I'm sure I know like a scratch of the surface with the values and the approach and what sets it apart and what makes it different. So can you just explain a little bit about that? Because you run My Montessori, the center and things like that.
Okay, so Montessori in a snapshot, really, really hard thing to do, but I'll try my best. It's basically so the values of Montessori that underpin the philosophy. So it's basically a style of, education, lifestyle, philosophy. The way we view the child is viewing them as capable and confident. We try to encourage their independence. There's an underlying respect that is built not only into the children, but into their interactions with the environment, with other people. So grace and courtesy. There's a lot of hands-on learning. So we do a lot of practical life activities and really involve them as a member of the community. Like, we see them as an equal and contributing member of the home, of the classroom. So they really are like active members of our kind of communities.
Yeah. Isn't that such a, like, I know Montessori is nothing new, but isn't it like, I talk to parents about the fact that we need to rewind almost like unlearn some of the traditional parenting practices and the stuff that maybe some of us were brought up with like 30 years ago sort of thing, because we have like, there is still a lot of that traditional old parenting paradigm of like, the parents are here, they're to be respected, they're on top, there's a hierarchy, and the kids are like underneath, and they're sort of less than, and they don't know anything, and they're still like, they're a blank slate, and we have to put in them and teach them, and it's very unilateral. Do you know what I mean? 100%. Rather than like, does that make sense?
Yeah. So the adult in the role of a Montessori space is basically a guide. We're a guide, we're a support, we're a facilitator. We really kind of help the child be the best version of themselves. And that takes a lot of work as an adult as well, to break down a lot of those traditional, exactly what you were saying, traditional kind of habits or language or the way we were raised, and thinking that that's, you know, what we should be doing. So, and yeah, Montessori has been around for more than 150 years, like, wow. And to think that now it's becoming a lot more, it's having a lot more traction because people are looking for more of a, I guess, a positive and responsive approach to, you know, raising our next generation. So I wanted to discuss traditional praise as well. So
this is probably a good time, because I remember we were, you know, chatting about that just before we hopped on, and that fits well into, like, I'm so aware that parents are in that habit of saying, you're a good girl, good boy. Like, I even come out with it, right? In my speech pathology work, when I did that years ago, now with my kids, like, it's very habitual, as you were saying, but there are some, I don't want to say there are some problems with it, but, you know, that maybe there's a different or a slightly better way we could be doing things. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing is, when we say things like good girl, good job, great boy, you know, whatever it is, the words good, great, wonderful, they're evaluative, which means that they evaluate what the child has done. Yeah. So you're saying, oh, you know, good job, you did this or whatever. So what it's saying is that my opinion on what you've done is good, right?
It's very judgmental, right?
Yeah, well, it is, because it's my subjective opinion on what somebody has done. So firstly, the problem with that is that we're judging our children. And secondly, the issue is that we are focusing on the outcome of what they've done, rather than the effort that they've put in, rather than the way it makes them feel, rather than, you know, saying thanks for doing something, or maybe they feel proud of themselves. So we're missing the whole point. Like, it's almost like if someone said to me, oh, Sylvia, oh, that was such a great presentation. I'd be like, oh, actually, yeah, I forgot to say this, and I wanted to mention that. And, you know, and then if you said to me, Stephanie, oh, I really love the way you used examples, that was so helpful. You know, the description was this, I'd be like, oh, great. In my next one, I'll use the description, I'll do this, and this. So it helps me, A, to feel good about myself, B, to point out the fact that these things were really helpful and that I should do them again, which is why we want to encourage children to do something so that they do it again, right? Yeah. By just being descriptive about things, or being conscious about the way we respond to the effort that they made about something, or the fact that they feel proud. So in Montessori, we use "you did it" as a very simple, you know, if you don't know what to say and you don't really want to say, you know, good girl or great job, you can say you did it.
Like, I love it.
And just smile. And it's all in the tone, Stephanie. Like, we don't even have to say anything. Like, you put your shoes on.
Yeah.
Like, that was encouraging. And it describes what the child does without judging them, without, you know, saying, oh, good job, because I think you did a good job. And then the child gets used to looking to the adult for reassurance. And that's where the problem comes in when we talk about children's self-confidence and self-esteem. Because then they get into a habit of building their own confidence based on the adult or the external acknowledgement of what they've done, rather than feeling good about themselves from the inside because they feel good about what they've done.
Oh my God.
And that is mic drop.
I was going to say, I was like, wait for her to finish.
Yeah, I saw your face.
Because I just had a conversation with a parent earlier today, and it was not so much about praise specifically, but about the fact that we cannot continue to shape our kids to look outside themselves to see how they should feel. We were obviously talking about emotions and managing big emotions and things like that. And I was saying to the parent, we can't be that dismissive parent that it's not a big deal. He didn't mean it. It's just a scratch. It was an accident. You're fine. And really, like, guide. It's more than guide, though. It's telling our child, prescribing it to our child how they should feel. Because what does that do? Just like you're saying, they're going to continue to look to us and think, infants do this. When they fall over and they're learning to walk, they'll look at a parent to check if the parent goes, oh my God, are you okay? Or if they go, you're all right. Are you okay? Come on, we'll get through this, kind of thing. So, like, what are we doing when we're dismissing our child's emotions or saying generally, good job, nice work, kind of thing? You're right, consistently over time, like, hey, I do this stuff too. I'm gonna, we're human. and we're not saying, like you said, we're not saying you have to be the ideal.
Exactly. We're not, look, this whole discussion around it, it's nothing is ever 100%. Nothing is strict. It's just about understanding that, hey, there's more effective ways to praise so that I can build my child's self-esteem and confidence, because that's essentially what I want to do. So, here are some alternatives. And if you're looking for things like that, we've got heaps of resources on that, alternatives, don't say this, say this. And, instead, so to give parents pretty much a guide, so you can put sticky notes up on your kitchen shelf, or, today I'm going to practice saying you did it, or every time, or, sometimes just smile. If you don't know what to say, just, yeah, it's better sometimes just to hold yourself rather than continuously, giving them that feedback. So yeah,
I love that there's such simple tweaks and changes that we can do that make a big difference over time, especially if we are a parent who is a little bit worried about our child's confidence, or maybe ourselves were not confident. That was me as a kid. And I think, I want to protect and bolster my kids' sense of competence and stuff like that. So, I was going to ask, but go ahead first.
No, go ahead. No, ask.
With we're going to talk a little bit about when we generally tell our kids, not just good job and things like that, but careful, watch out, like using that generalized language around, warning our kids or trying to, what are we trying to do there? I don't even know. Protect them.
So we're trying to, so essentially what the be careful thing is that we're trying to warn them about something, right? Because we're worried, and this is a point that I wanted to mention before that, was the fact that you said that it's something that you project, that you said you're feeling a bit insecure from your child, and these are the things that you were projecting. We do that. We project them onto our child because we don't want them to have those traits that we saw in ourselves or we didn't want in ourselves. And we'll come back to that point. But before we do, we'll jump into be careful. So when, for example, a child is riding their bike super fast down a ramp and there's a ledge and we go, be careful, it doesn't tell them anything. It almost creates this fear, like, oh my God, something's going to happen. And they're like, what's going on? Right. So it's kind of confusing for them. It doesn't help. It doesn't say what to do instead. So I always say it's really important to let a child know what they should look out for, so that it gives them an opportunity to problem solve. Yeah. So for example, just letting you know there's a ledge, or look, there's a big gap.
Yeah.
Look, there's a big gap. And allow them the opportunity to problem solve, right? Because that's how they start building their confidence, when they have this like skill set or this opportunity to practice. Okay, there's a big gap there. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to move my body? Do I put my arm somewhere? Do I put my leg somewhere? That is so much more constructive and helpful than saying, be careful.
Yeah.
And essentially it's doing the same thing. We're letting them know what our concern or our worry is without freaking them out in a second. And also giving them that opportunity. Like, you could also say things like, what's your plan? Do you feel safe? how might you climb over that? And these are the things. So in the language that we use, we're helping them build their self-confidence and self-esteem by putting our trust in them, by saying these things, right?
That is huge. I think sometimes we forget, or we forget that we can put our trust in our kids to overcome this, or to give it a go, or to work it out. And we come in, we like swoop in with our adult, fully developed brain, and we're like, careful, if you see that, you're going to get hurt. So just go around it like da, 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 da. And then what we're doing is like withdrawing that opportunity for our kids to, hey, they might not see the crack, or they might think, I'm going to try it anyway. And they might stumble, they might graze a knee. Yeah. And I'm not saying that we're cold-hearted parents and we don't care if our kids get hurt, but I'm saying that like we need to, my resilience training tells me, and the research tells me, that we need to allow our kids the ability and the opportunity to experience adversity, failure. I don't like the word failure, but things going wrong, making a mistake, or getting hurt, in order to build resilience. Like that's the only way to build resilience, to go through those tough times, or to make a mistake, or to get hurt and think, oh, wow, that didn't work. I didn't like it. It was uncomfortable. I was upset and I was angry, but I got through it. I coped. Like that's huge.
Yeah, it is massive. And I guess it's also about not projecting our insecurities onto the child. So the big not me at all, right? And and it's normal. Let me say that. Let me disclaimer here to everyone listening. It's so normal. It's something that we all do. Whether you're a parent, you're a teacher, you're a caregiver, it doesn't matter. When you've got a child in your vicinity, it's like you feel responsible for them. You have this, you have this concern and care for them. So it's about not allowing our insecurities to take over, and just hold yourself back for a minute and think about what you want to say, or what it is about that situation that makes you feel uncomfortable,
Yeah. I think what you said there with what is it that's making me uncomfortable as a parent when I'm saying be careful or watch out, like what is it that it's kind of turn your eyes inward and have a look at, why am I being so cautious, or why am I being so nervous, or why am I anxious in this situation, and potentially what impact is that having on my child and their ability to separate at preschool, or their their ability to make friends and go out and explore and play and stuff like that. I think that stuff is huge.
We could spend a whole another hour talking about that too. but essentially, you can help them with the words that you use, and you might not think about it on the spot, right? So you might want to just have like a one-liner that you take with you. Okay, we'll go to the park. I know there might be moments that I'm, and the biggest advice that I give people is describe what you see. Always just describe what you see, because that then will help the child then navigate. So just remember that if you don't know what to say, describe what you see until you can kind of reflect and be like, hey, okay, what sort of things would I say next time?
Yeah, I love that. It kind of reminds me of my speechy days when we would encourage parents to do like self-talk and parallel talk, as in like you'll know those from the educators, I'm sure, use them a lot. But like in a sense, if that's kind of a new terms for parents, self-talk is talking about what we're doing. And like you said, describing it, narrating it, even if you're cooking and what you're doing, how you're being careful, or what your plan is next, or how you're going to problem solve. I've locked myself out of the house now, and parallel talk is talking about what your child or what other people are doing, and noticing and describing and narrating. And do you think we often overlook or we don't realize how helpful and beneficial that can be?
Yeah, I think so. And I think I think it's because we don't have the kind of the guidance on how to do that, how often to do it. And, if for people who don't know about it, it's like, okay, well, where do I start? Is that weird? Or like, is it going to sound this? Is it going to sound that? So yeah, it's kind of, I just think sometimes having these little reminders or Post-it notes or whatever it is could be the start of, having those conversations. So
yeah, you know what, that is so true, because I've had conversations with a bunch of parents, especially over the last few weeks. I'm in the middle of a program I'm running with parents, and they're asking questions and I'm coaching and stuff, and they're asking, what do I say when my child does this, and what do I do when she's blowing up or melting down?
Sylvia.
and I'm starting to almost kind of script out some responses of, hey buddy, I get that you're so frustrated, like he took your texts, he didn't ask, like I would be annoyed too, you shouldn't do that, but I can't let you pull his hair, or that's not okay, so what are we going to do? How can we fix this problem? What could we go and say something to him, or do you want to sit with me for a bit, or do you want to pick another toy? Actually saying, you can say this, hey buddy, da 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 da. Like I think scripting that and just giving parents some options of what to say, so that they they'll usually say, oh, that sounds pretty normal, it sounds pretty natural. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't have to be weird and fluffy and awkward.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that like a lot of these things are like, oh, Sylvia, why didn't I think of that? And it comes back to my initial point, is the fact that our language is so habitual that if we don't make the conscious effort to change the way we say things and how we say things, it's just a matter of, reshaping our habits. And it comes down to those words that we use, those phrases that we use. We have a million infographics on Guide and Grow on Instagram that have, try saying this instead of this, so these are great little reminders that you can keep printed out or stick up on the wall or whatever it is, and have just to kind of give you that refresher.
Yeah. And I think it just like gives you the script of what to say and jogs your memory in the moment. If you stick it up somewhere, that stuff can be so helpful because it gets the train like going kind of thing. And then parents find the groove. I find that they will find everyone has the culture and the language in their family, right? Maybe you grew up with like, that was not our culture. We didn't talk about that stuff. We squashed that stuff. We swept it aside, but you can just as easily, with a little bit of time and intention and support with people like you, to go, hey, you can change this, you can shift it, you can create your own new culture of how you talk and the language you use, and here's some stuff to get you started. That's gold.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was going to say, where can parents where can they get in touch with you? Where can they read more, like Guide and Grow and on Instagram and everything?
We've got a YouTube channel. So I've got a Guide and Grow TV is our YouTube channel. We've got lots of videos on the effective praise and everything I was talking about. So the language we use. And then you've got some infographics and things on our Instagram at Guide and Grow. And we've got our Facebook page as well that everything gets shared to. You can find us all there. We've got a great website, www.guideandgrow.com. We've got lots of blogs and lots of, they're all free for parents, to the resources there. And we talk about all of this stuff in depth as well. Stephanie, I know we wanted to touch on shy.
Yes. Oh, I almost forgot. How didn't I write that down?
Yeah,
I did write that down.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah, tell us.
Yeah, so the one thing that we wanted to discuss, and I know, Stephanie, I'll be really quick because I'm mindful of time, is this idea of shy children. And I'm going to put shy in inverted commas because there is this huge stigma in society. There's almost like this social pressure that being shy and a shy child is something bad. And I want to really break that down, because shy children that feel uncomfortable are just slow to warm up. Okay. So when we're talking about building children's confidence and self-esteem, when you have a personality that's a little bit more reserved or slower to warm up than others, because it's a personality thing. Okay. Let's face it. Some adults are like that. We step into a room. Some people might not be comfortable to walk up. Some people might be. It would be embarrassing if your partner was standing next to you and said, while they greeted someone, come on, say hi. It's your turn. Why don't you say hi? How embarrassing, So why do we do that to our children? So we have to understand that they're just slow to warm up, and that's okay. And if they don't feel comfortable about stepping into something, it's like, we don't have to apologize for it. So we don't have to say, oh, I'm really sorry, they're just shy. Like, why is that a bad thing, that they're slow to warm up? And we need to make them feel secure with us before they step out. So if your child is one of those children that are a little bit slower to warm up, I was going to suggest, firstly, not labeling them as being shy, because you're just really judging them and making them feel uncomfortable, like I did with a potential, person in the room. We need to shift our thinking as well, that they're just slow to warm up. And it's not a bad thing. And acknowledge the fact that they feel uncomfortable, and give them a choice. Are you feeling a bit uncomfortable? Would you like me to say hello for you? Or would you just like to wave? Give them that option. Know that you're there to support them. I trust when you're ready, you'll go and play. Until then, I'm right here for you,
Yeah.
and really support them through that, so that we can build their self-esteem and confidence. So
I love that, because there is no point, right, pushing them and trying to really like encourage, and in a sense, almost like it can be shaming our kids into what's wrong with you, like hurry up, don't be rude, or it's just your auntie. Yeah, like that is pushing them when they're not ready. If they're slow to warm up, can't we accept that? And I always think, what message are we sending our kids? But also, they may be receiving a completely different message. So if we're saying things like, oh, I'm really sorry, she's shy, like, don't take it the wrong way, it's just her. We're trying to send the message of, she's shy and I don't want to offend you, and like, I'm sorry about this, and da-da-da. We're trying to send that message. But the message that our child can receive can be completely different. And it probably is completely different, because they're layering their lens on the situation. They're very limited cognitive development and understanding and limited perspective. And they're taking the energy and the emotion from our words and going, oh, mum's disappointed, or she's upset, or I'm less than.
Yeah. And I also understand, because look, I've had parents ask me, Sylvia, but in our culture, it's rude, like, or I really need them to, at least, if my mum is coming over and she's saying, oh, what's happening? Like, why is your child, like, why aren't they saying goodbye to me? Or why aren't they giving me a kiss? Like, it can be really awkward and difficult, in a family situation. And that's why I say, in front of them, like, acknowledge the child. Oh, are you feeling a little bit uncomfortable? Would you like me to, and model for them. Bye, grandma. It was so nice to see you. I had so much fun, especially with younger children. Like, I'm talking, when they're in their toddler age, or when they're their 3s and 4s, and, they still haven't found their footing, and they feel a bit uncomfortable, and they haven't kind of built that relationship. Because children, to build their self-esteem and self-confidence, they need to be confident and secure in the space with the people and the space that they're in. So if they don't have those strong,
that's a quote for the children, for to build our child's confidence and self-esteem, they need to feel comfortable in the space they're in and with the people they're in.
Yeah, they need to feel secure in the
secure.
and comfort with the people that they're around. So
and so if we're not doing that, if we are pushing them and hurrying them and rushing them, we're not sending them cues of safety and acceptance, and they're going to reject themselves and think, yeah, I'm broken, I'm wrong,
I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. I feel really disappointed in myself. And they almost get even more reserved, because they feel that we feel they're disappointed in them, or so just wanted to finish on that point, because it's really important.
So how easy is it, though, to, like you said, change our language, change the way we almost like change the way we show up for our kids, and we're on their team, and we can script for them, or like we can say it for them. We can model little tiny changes that make a world of difference if we start doing that. And that's the consistent way we show up, rather than the other way. Like, I just see we are often shaping our kids' way of being and how they're growing, but we can change their trajectory by the way we show up and our language and how we respond to them. Like, that's the ripple effects do all the work.
Yeah.
It's us. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I've really enjoyed having this conversation with you, and I can't wait to come back again. I know we've got you coming into our group in 2 weeks' time. That's exciting.
Yeah. Tell people where we're doing it again.
So we've got a lot of events coming up, guys. We've got Stephanie, of course, talking about an amazing topic. We won't reveal just yet. And then we've got things like positive discipline, and we've got lots of international experts that come on and we interview, and all of those events are through Guide and Grow on Facebook or on Instagram. So just give us a like or a follow. I've also got a very exciting surprise for all of Stephanie's followers on Let's Raise Emotionally Intelligent Kids. So we've got I don't know, I'm not going to say, but just watch this space in the next 24, 48 hours. There's going to be a free downloadable printable of some sort.
Yay, a free resource for you guys. So keep your eyes on the group. Within the next 24 hours, we will get it up and I will post it and I will tag Sylvia and Guide and Grow, and you guys will know this is the free resource for you. It's beautiful, honestly. So simple, yet powerful. So keep your eyes out for that. People can get in touch with you. What's the best way if people want to chat or learn more or reach you?
So the best way is through our website. We've got lots of contact us forms. There's, you can contact me through there. We've got an online workshop as well, which talks all about communication and language and building all of that. So it's specifically about the way of communication, and we talk about all these things that I've spoken about tonight. It's kind of like a practical toolkit that parents can take away with a handbook written out. This is what I should say, this and this. So exactly what you said. It's like the script book, the little handbook you can turn to. Okay, what do I say instead of good job? Or what do I say instead of don't do that and don't do this? And
yeah.
Oh,
how good. So is that workshop mainly for kids of a certain age? Parents of kids of a certain age?
Yeah, so that one's, the skill set, like I said, Stephanie, can be applied to any age child. That specific course, I do give examples in that lower age bracket. So between the birth to 6, because that's the age I specialize in. But it's not to say that all of these skills are not applicable. Doesn't matter how old your children are. So
yeah, I love that. I say that stuff about emotional intelligence and talking about emotions. Like, doesn't matter if you have
from birth.
Exactly. I feel like we could talk all night, so I won't. But a huge, massive thank you. I think everyone, there's some beautiful comments and things like that on Facebook. Guys, if you have any questions, post them in the comments on Facebook, because, and if you're watching later on YouTube, do that, because we'll be able to see and go back and answer your questions and say hello and stuff like that. So thank you so much, Sylvia.
Okay. It was my pleasure, and I'm sure we'll do it again sometime.
Yes, I would love that. All right. Have a good night, guys.
Bye.